demonstrates the values of ABWA.
That's what your sisters are here for. Hopefully I won't use all of those.
We have one more thing.
You do? Okay, great, fantastic. It's great to see all your smiling faces. This is quite a moment for me, and I will not look at Teen Apples, or else I will lose it. Teen Apples be sitting next to Ivy Royer, or the two biggest crybabies I've ever known. I want to start with telling you a story about me when I was a little kid. When I was about 8 years old, growing up in California, I loved to swim. I loved it so much you could hardly keep me out of the pool, and so my mom enrolled me in some swimming lessons. Well, I took to it like a fish to water, and I quickly excelled. So much so that when I graduated from the swim school, I got the highest grade you could get in the school, the honor of a dolphin. Now that Christmas, my mom allowed me to pick out one of those kids' football uniforms from the Sears catalog. Now, while many parents may have chastised their daughters for wanting a football uniform, one of the many things I will always appreciate about my mom is that she embraced and supported my individuality and never made me feel ashamed or inferior for not gravitating towards frilly dresses and the like. She would have loved to have had you, Carolyn. And she let me pick any football uniform I want. Well, this was 1984, and for those of you who follow football, particularly in South Florida, it was a pretty good year for the Miami Dolphins. Yes. So naturally, I got the uniform with the number 13, and my love of the Dolphins quickly became an unwavering loyalty to the Miami Dolphins. Now, growing up in Southern California, one of the best places you can go is SeaWorld in San Diego, where we were just a few weeks ago. The summer after my swimming school triumph, and after nursing the wounds from a Super Bowl defeat for my Miami Dolphins, my mom took me, my sister, and my brother to SeaWorld. Where do you think was the first place I wanted to hit? The Dolphin Show. Well, this may come as a surprise to some of you, but I was a pretty adorable kid. I know what happened, right? So naturally, while we were sitting waiting for the show to start, a trainer came up to me and said, "Would you like to be in the show and pet the dolphins?" Well, my mom and my sister's face lit up. My brother could barely care less. They were so excited that I was being approached. So what do you think I did? I turned beet red, put my head down, and I said a firm no. My family couldn't believe it, but there was no changing my mind. You see, my instinct was to be shy and introverted. I never wanted any attention drawn to me outside of my family. So I sat in the stands while another kid got to be in the show and pet the Dolphins. Now fast forward about 7 years later when I was in high school, and I was in class one day and we were talking about regrets. And for the first time I thought about that day at SeaWorld. And when my mom picked me up from school, I burst into tears. Well, she immediately wanted to know what kid she had to beat up. But through my tears, I told her that I was upset that I didn't pet Dolphin. Now, understandably, at first, she was a little confused as to what I was talking about, but finally she remembered. And I was just so disappointed because I realized what a great opportunity I had missed. I was disappointed because I had a fear of taking a risk, of being myself, of doing something in front of other people that was so important to me. I was afraid of looking stupid, of making a mistake. So I just didn't take a chance. I have to tell you, I'm very excited to be here this weekend. It's been an amazing conference, has it not? Our focus has been the value of membership, and I know each one of us, we got to hear 4 remarkable stories just today, have our own ABWA story that truly embodies our values. And I want to share how my dolphin story connects to ABWA, but first I want to talk about what devalues our association. I was really struck by Renee's presentation on Thursday night when she had the feedback from the phone calls from the members, past members, why they hadn't renewed. And since this is a recognition luncheon, I just want to take a moment to recognize the amazing work that Renee and the national staff do. I do not believe that we do that enough. So let's appreciate that. you need this, Renee? In all seriousness, I don't think you know until you're on the board just the tremendous amount of work that the national staff puts into any and everything we do. And Renee herself is a remarkable woman. And I may be preaching to the choir here, but I want you to understand that. She has some of the most amazing vision and gets the value of our association. She needs us, I'll tell you that much. She needs us. But I'm really blown away by the experience I've had thus far. And that example of that is the phone calls they made to talk to previous members and why they didn't renew. And what were some of the most common responses? The appearance of click groups, not getting involved, not knowing our national recognition. And best practices groups had the higher number of reported click groups. Now, while we probably have some sense of that to a degree, I'm glad we did the exercise that we did on Thursday night and also the exercises that we did yesterday with Mike, because we have to actively do something to help teams on the local level to address these concerns. There is a difference between the camaraderie and pride that we share within our teams, even our councils and our districts, but that certainly shouldn't be to the exclusion of other members, or at least the appearance of exclusion. So whether it's implementing a mentorship program in your teams, asking new members to get engaged and get involved on the local level, or sharing your successful programs through the Renewable Growth Strategies forums, there is a lot more we can do to share the value of ABWA. Ladies, we can do better. We can do better. Because when we exclude members and guests, whether intentionally or unintentionally, we are devaluating our association and we will not grow. One of our greatest strengths is that ABWA is a safe place. We're like a family. Our mission is to bring together a diverse group of women to help themselves and others grow personally and professionally. We must never lose sight of our mission, our proud code of conduct, our heart, our value, because every member matters. Every member has something to contribute. We aren't just chapters, we aren't express networks, we aren't councils, we aren't even districts. We are ABWA. We are sisters. We are a family. My address does not define my contribution to this association. I'm from all over. Grew up in California, went to law school in DC, licensed in Maryland, lived in Virginia, love the Miami Dolphins. I feel a kinship with everybody in this association. We are all a part of something bigger. Our theme this year is Together We Can, Together We Will. So it stands that divided we can't, divided we won't. Your district vice presidents know the value of ABWA, and you are so fortunate to have two remarkable women serving you here in Districts 1 and 4. Now, I've asked a couple of you to share some stories about Toby and Lois so that I can share those with you. Toby, Terry and Robin had some wonderful thoughts to share about you. No, really, they did. They told several stories that really show your heart and your spunk, but one of the things that stuck out most, and it's funny because I wrote this before your speech, but was your involvement with your shower of cards. I believe so strongly in that tradition, and I can't think of anything better that truly shows the heart and the value of this association. That members from all over the country share their support, their concern, their love with people they don't even know but for their association with ABWA. And Toby, I know I'm not alone when I tell you that you were one of the first people I remember meeting when I got involved at the national level. And in fact, you were the first person to tell me I was an approved candidate for DEP. So you were a part of the beginning of my leadership journey, and now I'm a part of yours. Lois, the only way I know how to describe you is by reading a statement from Cindy Yates, who's the president-elect of My Express Network in Dallas. Cindy writes, I met Lois at the ABWA National Conference in Irving. I found out that she lives in South Florida, not far from where I lived during my high school years, and that my sister Kathy had actually attended one of their ABWA Elite meetings a few months earlier as a guest. We chatted, swapped information, and became Facebook friends like you do with so many of the people you meet at conference. In June of 2012, my sister passed away unexpectedly of a ruptured brain aneurysm. The services were held in Plantation, Florida, which is near Fort Lauderdale. I had posted the service time and location on Facebook. I couldn't believe it when the door opened and in walked Lois Margolin. My heart actually skipped a beat. I walked over to her and she asked me if I remembered meeting her at conference. Of course I did. I couldn't believe she was actively attending my sister's service. I was a long way from my Texas home and was truly touched that one of my ABWA sisters drove down to support me. It still brings tears to my eyes when I think about it. The bond of sisterhood is one of the most remarkable benefits that ABWA has to offer. And Lois, on behalf of Outlook Positive Express Network, thank you for being here. There are so many of these special stories that illustrate the true value of ABWA that no brochure, no website, not even our mission statement can portray. Think back to when you attended your first meeting. Why did you join? Why did you stay? That is your ABWA story. Share it. I truly didn't know the value of ABWA until I was chosen as the 2010 Top 10. I remember like it was yesterday. I heard, Mom, is that? I remember like it was yesterday, sitting in my office, and whose name should come across my caller ID but National President Vicki Marlette. Now, I had the same experience that a lot of us do when that happens. I mean, Mike yesterday would have called it a triggering event. Oh boy, what is this about? But from the minute I picked up the phone, I heard this amazing excitement in her voice as she told me that I was a top 10 businesswoman of ABWA. Vicki had seen me from the beginning of my journey, knew my mom and many of the obstacles I had experienced. And while I was mostly stunned, I will never forget how giddy she was, because she knew something I didn't. My life was about to change, and ABWA was about to take me places I never imagined. Here, as your National Vice President. That conference in Kansas City where I was honored as a top 10 was the start of one of the most amazing changes in me. For the first time in my life, I opened up about myself and took the risk to share things I thought you all would judge me for. Primarily my work in the gay community, and that I was in fact a part of that community. But rather than judging me or making me feel ashamed, you all embraced me, supported me, celebrated me. And I became a more confident, outgoing Lori than I ever thought possible because of you. That night at our banquet, after I had given my speech where I talked about who I am and the work that I do, a member came up to me and grabbed my shoulders and said, "Thank you. Thank you for what you do and what you do for my daughter." Ladies, in that moment, my life, my course forever changed. I realized that this fear that I held inside me, this fear that I thought I had to keep from you, well, I realized that my journey wasn't about me at all. It was about anybody like me who is uncomfortable in her own skin, self-conscious, scared, afraid to take a risk. In that moment, ABWA became my safe place, and you became my family. Now when I'm at an ABWA event, I think back to that little boy who was so afraid and insecure and ashamed to pet the dolphin. And I think about the teenage Lori who was so disappointed that she didn't take the opportunity, that risk. And I realize how much I've grown and how secure and confident I feel in your presence. And that confidence has carried into my life and brought me success I could have never imagined. I'm a better business owner, lawyer, friend, a better person. I've had the courage to speak to churches, debate at Southern Methodist University Law School, and even appear on TV discussing issues in my work that I would have never been brave enough if it weren't for this association. When I speak, I know I am not alone. I have the support of all my sisters, my family. What you have given me reignites this passion to stay on this leadership path, to take every opportunity I can to share my story so that others like me can experience what I have, so that others can learn the true value of the American Business Women's Association. Thank you.